Hi, I'm Captain Steve. Welcome to Smart Boating's Basic Navigation. For most of us, navigation is the basis by which our skill will first be judged by our passengers. Docking is invariably the second. Think about it and it makes sense. If you have trouble getting to your destination or continually keep getting lost or disoriented, you'll soon find that you'll have trouble getting people to enjoy your boat with you. Even if you spent money on a GPS or global positioning system that does all your navigating for you, you still need to have a basic knowledge of the method that your GPS uses to navigate by in order to completely understand its functions. And besides, the smart boater never relies solely on any one method to base his navigating on. You need to continually cross-check one system against another to make sure that you are indeed where you're supposed to be. That's where basic navigation comes in. We'll give you the knowledge to use manual methods to cross-check your electronic methods with, and that will have you navigating safe and smart, and that helps us all. So let's cast off together and head bow first into the basics of navigation. Before we can get far into navigating, we need to take a look at how we, as navigators, define an object's position on Earth. We'll start by taking a close look at the globe and notice how it's laid out on a grid system. Anything on Earth can have its position determined by this grid system. You can see the lines that make up these grids running across the globe from side to side and from top to bottom. The lines that run across the globe from side to side are called lines of latitude and are numbered in degrees starting from 0, also known as the equator, and ending at 90 degrees on both the north and south poles. You'll also notice that these lines are always running parallel to each other. For this reason, they're also referred to as parallels, as in Iraq's no-fly zone below the 36th parallel. You can also look at them as rungs of a ladder, which may help you remember the term latitude. It equals like a ladder. As you count upward from the equator, you are counting north latitude. Here's 10 degrees north latitude, 20 degrees north latitude, and so on. So guess what you're counting as you go south? That's right, you count south latitude. Now the lines running up and down the globe look long and are called lines of longitude, or sometimes meridians. And instead of running parallel to each other, they converge and meet at both the north and south poles. They start at 0 degrees at Greenwich, England, also known as the prime meridian, and run east or west from there until they get to the other side of the world at 180 degrees, also known as the international dateline. As you go west from the prime meridian, you count west longitude. Here's 20 degrees west, 40 degrees west, and so on. So guess what we count as we go east of the prime meridian? You got it, east longitude. Now let's take a look over here at the Atlantic Ocean. We see we have a line of latitude running through it of 30 degrees north. We could say that we're somewhere on that 30-degree line of north latitude, but we need to be more precise than that. That line runs all the way around the world, and it would make a pretty big search area if we just told the Coast Guard that we were at 30 degrees north latitude. So let's find an intersecting line. Here's one running through our 30-degree line, the 60-degree line of west longitude. If we were at 30 degrees north latitude and 60 degrees west longitude, we would know that we were at this point right here, just southwest of Bermuda. Now, it doesn't always work quite so neatly, where your position will intersect right at whole degrees. That's why there are smaller lines between the degrees called minutes, and there are 60 lines of minutes between each degree. Now let's take a look at this body of water off the coast of Massachusetts. Nantucket Sound has a line of latitude running through it of 41 degrees, 30 minutes north, and a line of longitude of 70 degrees, 20 minutes west. That puts us just north of the center of Nantucket Sound. Again, it just doesn't work out that cleanly, where your position is right at the intersection of an even number of minutes of degrees. So that's why between each of these minutes are smaller lines called seconds, and there are 60 seconds between each minute. The problem with working with seconds is that our charts would look awfully busy with that many lines on it. So they decided to make it easier on us all and broke the minutes of degrees down into 10 lines called tenths of minutes. So now, by using degrees, minutes, and tenths of minutes, we can tell anyone in the world exactly where we are in the world. Okay, so now that we have latitude and longitude down, let's take a closer look at our nautical chart and see what's what. What about all these numbers all over the place? Those are depths. Are they feet, meters, yards, fathoms? I don't know. We have to look. See right over here? In big letters, it tells us that the soundings are in feet. If this were an ocean chart with really deep water, the numbers would be too big to print all over the place, and you would use fathoms. And 1 fathom is 6 feet. And by the way, just because the chart says that the depth right here is 3 feet, doesn't mean that you can go stand there in 3 feet of water at any time. Remember, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, so it varies. And all of these measurements, or soundings if you will, are taken at average low water. So if you get stuck at high tide, you're going to be in a world of hurt at low tide. How much further will you be stuck at low tide? Well, the range of the tide can be found in an informational box on your chart right up here. Look at the mean high water measurement and you'll see 3.2 feet as we enter Hyannisport. Notice that if you look closely, you can also get information on the quality of the bottom. This is very useful when anchoring. A soft bottom may feel good, but it won't hold your anchor very well, and rocks may decide to keep your anchor permanently. When dealing with navigation, it's important to understand some definitions for what we'll be dealing with. We'll start with directions. Directions are given either in true or magnetic degrees. There are 2 choices because there are 2 North Poles. There's the true North Pole, where Santa Claus lives, and the magnetic North Pole, which is actually closer to Arctic Canada. The magnetic North Pole's position is dictated by the magnetic field of the Earth, and because this magnetic field changes slightly every year, the location of the magnetic North Pole changes slightly every year as well, nearly 40 kilometers to the northwest per year. The difference between true and magnetic north is called variation. Notice the compass rose on your chart will give you your degrees in directions true on the outer circle and degrees magnetic on the inner circle, and in the center, the actual variation or difference between the two for where you are and the amount it changes every year. Now, it's important to understand that this angle of variation, or difference between true and magnetic north, changes as you change your location. To illustrate this, if you're here in the east coast of the U.S., the amount of variation is about 15 degrees 45 minutes westerly. But go way over to the other side of the world, and you see how the 2 positions are more in line with each other? Now the variation is almost 0. That's why there will be a different amount of variation for different locations. Your compass always knows where magnetic north is. It's when you're figuring a course from your chart that your compass will understand that warrants having to deal with variation. And we'll get back into this later when we start plotting. Directions are given as an angle from north, which is the 0 position, and continue from there all the way around the circle to 360 degrees, which will be north again. It's not appropriate to call north 0 degrees, so we always say 360 degrees when discussing north. Directions are always given in a 3-digit format. East is not 90 degrees, it's 090. West is 270. For every direction, there's a reciprocal, which is 180 degrees opposite. Half of 360 is 180, so all opposite courses are 180 degrees opposite. So, the reciprocal of 090 is an additional 180 degrees, or 270 degrees. And the reciprocal of 210 degrees is 180 degrees less, or 030 degrees. How do you know whether to add or subtract 180? Well, you do whichever gives you an answer of 360 or less. Or an easier method, and I really hate math, so I always go for easier, is to just look at the opposite side of your compass or the compass rose. When labeling your courses on a chart, always, always, always add T for true or M for magnetic after the 3 digits, as in 185M for 185 degrees magnetic. For all our work, we'll be using magnetic as it correlates to the compass on our boat, so let's always use the inner circle.
Well, there you have it. Hopefully this course will have given you a better understanding of basic navigation so that you'll always be in charge of where your boat is and when, rather than having the boat be in charge of you. If you enjoyed this segment on basic navigation, then be sure to try out some of our other programs like Requirements for Recreational Boaters, Aids to Navigation, Basic Rules of the Road, or how to handle emergencies. And of course, all of these courses and so much more can be found all together in one place, Smart Boating, our most popular course ever. It's been a pleasure having you with us. I'm Captain Steve. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you out on the water.